right, today we are going to be doing something cool. We're going to be building a widget that you can use on any website that you build for your clients or for yourself. And a while back, I think about 2 months ago, I mentioned and I made a video about WDesignKit. With the WDesignKit, you can build any widgets you want from existing code, and it can be done so that it can be added to any page and edited as you would with an Elementor native widget. And last time I only showed you how to install it. I talked about the plugin itself, what you can get with it. We did a little demonstration of code added and creating a widget, but I did not explain a little bit more in depth how you can create the widget and make it so that it's easy to edit in Elementor, so you don't have to go in the WDesignKit backend. So today we're going to be building a button, and this button is very interesting, but it has a lot of elements that we can edit dynamically in Elementor, in the editor. So let's get into it and I will show you how to do that. And this way you will learn how to create widgets from scratch and make them so that they are dynamically editable. Let's get into it. All right, and here we are in Elementor. Okay, let me just expand this so we have a seamless experience. Yeah, nothing distracts us. So I'm gonna go to look for the sparkle button. Yeah, and this is our widget. This is what we're gonna be working on. We're gonna create another widget. But I'm going to show you what you will be able to do with this. So normally you can edit widgets in Elementor just like this. For example, in this case, our button has a text that we want to change. Obviously, this generate site does not apply to all websites, right? So I'm going to call this hover me or something like that. Okay. And that. And then if you go to style, for example, you have a few options here. We could change the typography, and this is something that you do, right, on a website, and it's absolutely normal. And this is a dynamic change, right? This is what we want to achieve. So let's go to uppercase and voila. Yeah. Let's see what else. So you can change the padding here. Now we have no padding. Let's say 20. All right. Icon size. The icon could be very big, very small, smaller. You know all this. You know how a button works and what you can do and change in a button. Okay. We have some extra options. These options are the loop border and the glow border. So now it's very purple, the glow border, and the border now is changed to whatever color I had there. And if we want to change the box shadow that you see, again, it's purple, we can do the same thing, and we go here to box shadow and we can change the color from here. Obviously, of course, we can let me just go to my colors, go with this color, copy it, go to box shadow, go here and change it here. Yeah, and as you can see, this is how it looks. So let's just keep it at 0, and there you go. You can make it bigger, smaller, non-existent basically, and it's super cool. So let me just make this padding bigger on left and right, and this is how our button looks like. Let me just, so annoying to be there, and I'm going to make this a bit bigger so you can see it better. Yeah, and let's publish. And I'm just showing you first what you will be able to achieve once we start editing our button. Okay, and this is something that you would want to achieve. I think this is so cool. Let's go back to our sparkle button style, and yeah, you can change the icon color. Let's see if we can change it to orange, and there you go, it's orange. This is what we can do. All right, I'm gonna publish it and I'm gonna go back in WDesignKit and let's get working. All right, so I assume that you have already installed WDesignKit. I will link the video in the description below where I'm doing that if you want to follow my steps. Otherwise, it's very simple. Anyway, I'm not going to go through that because I already said it once. So we are in our WDesignKit, as you can see here on the left side of my panel in the dashboard. And I want to create a widget. So how I do that is by going to widgets, go to my widgets. Yeah. And you can create a widget by clicking on this button. And then you will be prompted to create your widget. So I'm going to call it purple button. Okay. And you can add a featured image and an icon. I would suggest to add an icon to it that is very relevant to the widget that you're building. So in my case, it's a button. I'm not going to add an icon right now, but know that you can do that. So I'm just going to go and leave it as purple button. Okay. And make sure that you choose the page builder that you want to build this widget for. So in my case, it's Elementor. Okay. If you're building for Bricks, Gutenberg, then you choose one of this. All right, so let's create our widget. Click to create, and this is blank, okay? We need to go and bring in our code. So I am going to go to the code band that has our purple button, yeah? And I'm gonna get this one by one. So I'm gonna grab this HTML. And I'm going to show you step by step because this is the point of it, to show you how you can add all of the things that you need to add, okay? And although I will be deleting a lot of this CSS, I still need to grab it for demonstration purposes. All right. And oops. And our JavaScript. So I'm going to get the whole thing. It's not too much. And go to JavaScript and drop it in here. All right, so let's go to Elementor. Let's add a new page. I want to create a page for the purple button. It's very important that you see the changes as well, obviously, as we make them. So it makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna change the background to another color that is not black because you will see why. The button has already background and I want to change the background color of it as well. All right, so let's look for our button, purple button. There it is. I'm gonna drop it in here and boom, our background changed because all this style is coming from the CodePen code. Yeah, we didn't change anything. We just added in the WDesignKit widget that we created, and that's it. And there's no way we can edit this widget the way it is. Yeah, as you can see, we just have the usual advanced controls from the Elementor editor. So nothing can be changed here dynamically, actually. But what we want to do is have it that way that we can change it here, style and content and everything that needs to be changed. Okay, let's go back to WDesignKit. All right, so let's take care of the CSS first, right? So let's go back to the top. And as you can see, we have some funny things here. Okay, we are going to be deleting this because this is not needed in our case at all. Then when it comes to body, this is for custom coded websites, okay? And it refers to the body of your website. And in our case, the body is giving us the background color as well. So this is the background color. And we don't need all this at all, right? We will just delete this bit here. So in our case, the body is not necessary. All right, so let me just save. As you delete things, make sure that you save the changes so you don't get confused. All right, so let me just go back to my purple button. Let's update this page and voila, the button has no background now, but it does have a background when we hover over it. We will change some things, of course. And if you want to remove the background of button on hover, the black background, yeah, I'm talking about that I just showed you, you go and you look for this. Okay, in your case, it could be something else if that's the case, but this is what you do. And I will just delete it together with the position. Okay, so I'm saving and let's go and have a look. And voila. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring our button. Let me just refresh this. I'm gonna bring the button somewhere in the center. So I'm gonna have this centered. Let me give this a bit of height. and bring it here so it's easier for us to see and understand the changes. All right, so let's have a look. All right, much better. All right, let's continue. Also, to avoid any overflow, yes, we can do this, edit this in Elementor, but it's best not to have this in the widget. Right now, it doesn't show that there's an overflow for whatever reason. If you go to the widget and you go all the way to particle pen, you will see the particle pen has a width of 200% of the viewport, and we don't want that, so we are going to delete it because that is going to give you definitely an overflow. So you always have to look for things like this. Yes, we could have done this in Elementor. Basically, let me just publish this. Go to the container where you have your widget, go to additional options and hide the overflow. But why not have a clean widget built properly, right? All right, and for now, I think we are done with the CSS part where we are just removing things that we do not need at all. And let's go to HTML because this is where kind of the magic happens. We're gonna create the structure of this widget, okay? We're going to add controls to it. So as you are in layout, leave it as it is. We are going to be adding text because we want to make sure that the text that we have here can be changed in the Elementor editor in our created widget. Yeah, as I showed at the beginning of this video. So we need to add a data control widget. And as you can see, when I drop this, it creates this, whatever it's called, I have no idea, thing, yeah? And it highlights the part that we could add it to. Very cool, very, very cool, yeah? So we can rename this. You could say text area. I don't know, you can name it whatever you want. Make it so that it's very easy for someone else to understand what it is. Yeah, because maybe you're not gonna be the only one on the team that will be editing this. Maybe someone else will. Who knows, down the line when you're gonna be using this in the future, you're not gonna remember what it was. Just make it so that it's very easy to understand what these fields you're creating are for. Okay, we changed the text here, and if this is if you click on this part, you will see that you have a few things that you can edit here. Okay, so you can change the labels. The label would be this here, so you can say, I don't know, it's still text, but I'm gonna make it so that you can see that it's editable. The input is text, but you can change it with whatever you want. And if you don't understand or you don't know what these are, and I don't mention it because it's not relevant to this video, but you might want to use it, you can hover over the eyes here and you will get a tooltip that will explain a little bit more what these are. And as we go down to name, this name is, as it says here, it's unique for this control text. Yeah, so this is a unique name that has been created for us. And if we use this here, and if we use it somewhere else on the, let's say, HTML structure, let's say we have it somewhere else as well, we will be able to add it this and add the same text. So if I say here, this is a button, it will appear here and somewhere else where I have it. If it makes sense, if you add this unique name to it. So in our case, I'm going to delete this because this right now is not dynamic. We want to make it dynamic. So if I click on this, it will change. Make sure that you delete this part, yeah, and just leave this as is. If you are a seasoned developer or you know a little bit of React, you know that React works this way a little bit, yeah. Anyway, so we are going to leave this here. Do not change anything, because if you change anything here, this will not work. I am insisting on this. Make sure that you don't change this, okay? All right, so let's go over all these elements. So let's add a placeholder here. So let's call it change text or add your text, add your text. Oops. And as you can see, it appears here and it's very informative for whoever needs to edit it. They know what they have to do, right? Again, as I said, you need to make sure that it's very, very easy to use. All right. So if we turn this off, our label, it will not show, but I think it's best to leave it there. Label block. So I think I like this more, to be honest, and I will leave it like this. The structure, then separator. I'm not sure what this is. I'm gonna just leave it default. Classes, we will need this, maybe, yes, when we're styling. Dynamic, turn on for dynamic value. And conditions, if you have conditions, you can do that here, but that's out of the scope of this button tutorial, okay? And let's save it. And let's go back to our purple button. Let's refresh this page and let's see what we can do. As you can see right now, we have nothing. Yeah, it comes with nothing. And this is what we did on the back end. We added these fields, right? So the default value will show basically on the front end. So I'm gonna put the button. Let's go have a look. Yes. So yeah, I think it's best to have this default value, basically the way it shows on the button. Yeah. And you can change it here. Right now you don't have anything, and let's say hover over me, and voila, we did already a dynamic change to this button. How freaking awesome is this? I love it. All right, let's continue. All right, now we're going to be focusing on the styling of this button, okay? Because it's very purple and not everyone wants to have a purple button. So in order to do that, we go here to style, not layout, but style, yeah? And we go to controls, where we have to choose our controls. And we want to focus on the hover. So I'm gonna go to look for hover. And the unit controls says to choose normal hover. I know this is not very self-explanatory, but I will look for the documentation and I will leave it in the description below so you can have a look. Maybe it will be helpful. But whatever it comes to mind, just have a search. Try to see if that's the thing that you need, okay? All right, so I'm going to look for border, and we need to add the border in both normal and hover because we want to change the color of the border whenever we have it normal or hovered. Yeah, so I'm gonna grab it and drop it in here. I'm gonna go to hover and do the same thing. Go to controls and drop it in here. And now we have the border controls in both. So let me just save and let's see what we did on the front end. So let's update. Let's go to our style. And that's it. Look at that. Solid. And if I go to change the border, we have to give it width. Yeah, color. It's very ugly, but we are getting there, okay? And the same with the hover, solid. Anyway, but I wanted to show you that it already shows on the Elementor editor backend. All right. So as we are in our border, if I click on the actual border control, yeah, I am prompted to this. Okay, so now we have to add our selector like you would do in the Elementor CSS code, where you look for the selector that you want to target to add it with CSS. And that's exactly the same way we do it here. So in our case is the button. The button is our selector. I'm gonna drop it in here, and the same on hover. Yeah, so I'm gonna go to border and drop it in here as well. But we are going to be adding a hover event as well, because we have to change the border of on hover, obviously. Yeah, I'm gonna save this. And let's continue. All right, so let's add some more controls. In our case, we want to add a shadow. So we have box shadow, which we're gonna add both to the hover event and the normally event. Yeah, box shadow. And click on it like we did to the border. Yeah, make sure that you click on it so you can edit. And we're gonna be adding the same selectors. So it's the button because we are focusing on editing the border of the button here. Okay, and box shadow, again, button with hover event. and save it. And now if we go to the Elementor editor and obviously refresh this, I refreshed it before I turned on the camera, our border is now focused around the button as it should. So if you go to style, you see that now you have more options, right? We still have the color, yeah, and our color, let's just make it a bit darker so we can see what we're doing here. All right, the border width is a little bit too much. Let's go a little bit down to 10. That's nice. Yeah, and on hover, let's make it 20, and you see it grows, and make the color orange. I mean, how cool is this? It works just as it should. And we did all these changes dynamically. Let's go back to our widget maker. All right, so another thing that we want to add to style is going to be typography, because we want to change the size, the type, the font that we use, color, etc., etc. So we're going to be adding control for that. All right, so we are going to go to style, make sure that you're in the style, go to controls and look for typography and just drag it in here. And we have another section, right? And it's called typography. If you click on it, you will be able to also, of course, change the name of the text here, but I think you should leave it as is because this is the standard. And we need to add our class that we are targeting here. So in this case, we have a span. Yeah, this is the HTML tag, but we need to target the class of text. So I'm gonna copy this, yeah, and drop it not in class. I know that it would make sense to have it there, but no, we're going to add it in selectors, and make sure that you add the dot at the end, at the front, as you would in Elementor. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna save this, and now let's go and update our page widget basically, and let's see if the change has taken place. Let's go to style, and yes, we should change this. Of course, this should be something else, and this something else, so it makes sense when you see it. Like you could say content, I don't know, whatever. You could say button text or here. Anyway, so we can change typography right from here. So let's go and look for something else. Something that is very obvious that it's changed. REM, let's make it big. Let's change the weight to medium, but this is very dependent on what kind of font you have and if it allows for these changes. So mine doesn't, but let's just go with Inter. Wow, this is cool. All right, that's very big, but let's go bigger. Yes, this is a cool button in my opinion. Letter spacing. Okay, so it works. Again, we did another cool dynamic add-on to the widget from the backend of WDesignKit, which is fantastic. Now let's see if we can change the color of the text. So we need to have this to be editable as well dynamically, basically in the Elementor editor. Let's go and do that. All right, so I changed the text on the controls here, button border, yeah, and button text, and you will see them in the editor of the widget in the Elementor editor in a bit. But until then, let's for colors. We want to change the color of the text on hover as well. So for that, we need this control. Okay, so whenever you have a hoverable element that you want to change the color of or any state of it by hovering, this is what you do. Okay, you look for the normal hover, which will give you normal and hover state. I hope this makes sense. All right, so now we are going to look for, oh no, not typography. We're going to look for color in hover, in normal and hover. There's a little bit of a, not necessarily logic, but a way of thinking about it in a logic way. Like you have to think what the widgets in Elementor have, the native Elementor widgets, and think how you can create the same way, create them in the same way from here. I know it's going to take, it's a learning curve, definitely a learning curve. and you need to take some time and don't get super frustrated if it doesn't work in the first try, because it's not easy. As we did with the previous controllers, yeah, we clicked on them and we were able to edit our information here. So in our case, we have, so in order to create the color of our, we need to add selectors value and selectors here. I know it's a little bit confusing, but hear me out. Here in selectors, we add the class that we have ourselves created. If we go to HTML, you will see that this is the class. And if I go to hover, I will have to do the same thing. Yeah, add it here in selectors, and then go to CSS and look. Actually, you don't necessarily have to look, but you need to target the color property, okay? And this is a standard. In CSS, for text, you have the property color. I'm gonna copy this and add it to normal as well. And let's see if this worked actually. I'm really curious because in the way how it's explained in WDesignKit, it's not really, I would say, easy to understand. All right, so let's go to button text and we can change the color here. I mean, it worked actually. Let's see if it worked. Okay, normal. And on hover, orange. Oops, that doesn't work. It changes the text on. Okay, I think there's something else that we are not doing properly. So give me a moment. All right, so what I forgot here is basically the hover event, because whenever you have a hover event on your elements, whether it be text, button, anything, you need to add in the selectors the class with the event hover. And it makes sense, right? Okay, let's go back to our button. Let's refresh and let's see if this works. It should work out of the box now. No, it doesn't. Let's go to style. And I think we need to go to hover. Oh yeah, it works. Now it works. Ah, yes, we need to hover right over the text for this to work. Anyway, it works as it should. Yeah, cool. All right, I'm going to rename this because this is the color for the text. So say text color, and I am going to add another controller, but this time, of course, it's going to be again color, but this time is going to be icon color. Okay, and let's click on it, and we need to add selectors and the value. So in this case, the value remains the same on hover and normal. Yeah. Let me just add a control here. Forgot to add in normal. Let's name this the same way so there's consistency. Yeah. And this one exactly the same, so we don't create confusion. All right, icon color. Okay, I'm gonna call it color as well, but the selectors will be different because we're talking about the icon here. So in this case, it's going to be our SVG, path, on the class, and a lot of all these things. So it's a little bit confusing, I know. You can either go to the CSS and look for these classes, or go to inspect, as I showed earlier, and look for your selectors. And it's going to be probably a trial and error. You're going to have to try a few things to see what works in terms of, especially if you don't know any CSS or anything like that, what works to target here. So let's go to, we're going to be in the normal state, and on hover, we have, it's a little bit more complicated. So we have button, because it's the button. Then we have the hover event, because it's the change of the color on hover. And then we have the sparkle path, I think. This is how it is. I'm not sure exactly, but let's see. Yeah, let's save it and hopefully this works. All right, let's update. Let's see what we are getting here. Let's go back to our button. Let's go to style, button text, and icon color. Let's see if it changes. It's changed. And on hover, let's change it to orange as well. And it changes. How cool is that? I think it's very cool. And now we want to change the color of the background because we don't want it to be purple. all the time. We have the button border, we have the button text, an icon. We could name this differently so it makes more sense because we have grouped a few things, yeah, and everything is basically more or less related to typography here, and here obviously button border. All right, so that's up to you how you want to group things. All right, let's see what else we can do. All right, now let's add another color controller here. And this one is going to be for the background. So let's say background color. And this is the color of the background of the button, obviously. And yeah, let's do the same thing, copy and go to normal. Actually, is there a way you can copy this? No, you can just move it, or no, duplicate, no. All right, it doesn't matter. Oh, let's go to normal and add another color controller here and the same name, so there's no confusion. All right, now we have to add the selector value and the selector here, as we did previously, okay? So again, if you don't know what you're looking for in terms of classes and selectors, you can inspect. But in my case, I'm gonna go with this because I know this is it, the button background, yeah? I'm gonna add it here at selectors value and hover as well. And then let's go back to normal, go to background color, and we need to add our selectors. So let's go back to HTML and let's go back to select sparkle button, and it's a class, yeah, and the class of backdrop. I know this is a little bit more complicated and doesn't make sense. You just need to know a little bit of CSS and how these things work, unfortunately. But you could use ChatGPT if you have questions. So you can input this and just ask the right questions. It's so important. Anyway, let's go to hover, and basically we are going to be adding the same selectors here. Sorry, I need to go back to normal background and copy this, go to hover, drop it in here, but we need to make sure that at the button here, we need to add the hover state. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And let's save it. All right, now let's go to see if that worked. Let's go update our button. Let's go back to the widget, go to style, button text, and we have the background color. And let's see if it actually works. So we don't want it to be purple or black. This is how it looks on the normal state. If you go to hover, let's see if it worked. It worked! Yay! How cool is that? We can also change the box shadow here to a different color. Make the blur bigger. It's an ugly button color-wise, but it works as it should. And we have created all these changes in the actual backend here. So this is how you create a widget with WDesignKit. Yes, this was a little bit still not as beginner friendly, but you still need to know a little bit of code, or at least have the ability to look up some things for yourself to be explained. This is not a code class. This is just how you can create widgets easily, small widgets, let's say, with some CSS knowledge, yes, and WDesignKit. And it's so easy to do. And I will leave all the information that you need in the description below. So I really hope this helped a little bit more and you understood a bit more how WDesignKit widget maker works. If you have questions, if you want me to go even deeper into explaining things in another video, let me know in the comments below and I will try my best. All right, until next time, bye.